I'm liking that flute there. Like,
Yeah,
kind
getting
of got a
packed up in here.
chill vibe. Like, chill, but like we're on a mission.
We are. Yeah, got the band back.
Welcome, welcome, everybody. We're on episode 22, Pocket Deuces. Uh, Jason and myself here today. We're going to talk about a topic that, yeah, everybody talks about the idea of failures and how they're necessary, but I hope that it's hard to be transparent with these failures, but we're going to hope that we can be as transparent as we can with peeling back some of the onion layers on some of the failures I know that I've encountered. And Jason, yourself. So, failures. First,
Sure.
I want to start. I think that, and I really thought this recently. Every great character trait that I personally feel that I have has formed from a failure. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny that you say that, right? So I was just thinking, one of the biggest failures I ever had, right? So episode 22, right? When I was in like Pee Wee football, little D League, whatever, the first year that you could go, my number was 22, right? And one of the biggest failures that I had was it was the playoffs, right? And I was like the starting running back, did really well, right? And I woke up for the playoff game and I had like that butterfly in the belly, right? And I thought I was sick, and told myself, "Oh, I'm too sick to play" or whatever. And it was just like, that fear and anxiety and all that kind of stuff that builds up into you. And I didn't go, and we ended up, right on the opening kickoff, the team ran the kickback for a touchdown, and we lost 6-0. And my dad pointed out, like, that was the spot that you were supposed to be in to make the play, right? Not only was I like the starting running back, but he told me like that. So ever since then, anytime I get like nerves or any kind of anxiety in my stomach as far as like public speaking or anything that you're scared to do, I'm like, fuck it, I'm doing it, because I'm not gonna let the team down again after that. So it was a super humbling moment. It's ironic that we're talking about this on episode 22, but it just brought flashbacks back, and letting the team down and let myself down. And then once the game was over, I realized, like, I feel fine, you know. But before that, I was just like, what is this? I don't know. I was probably like 8 years old or something like that. You didn't really know what was going on, but ever since that, I'm like, no, it was fucking something internal that was making me, scared or nervous or feeling like physically sick or whatever. And then it went away. I'm like, well, fuck.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you can physically manifest from a mental problem. Not you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Like so I have a peanut allergy, tree nuts, whatever, nuts. I'm allergic to nuts, and for a time it was even more than that. Like when I was growing, we thought it was corn and potato and soy. I still have somewhat of a shellfish allergy, but that's not that bad. But anyway, like all these things, and I got a crazy phobia from it. It was like just because the fear of not being able to breathe. I mean, like you get like a different chill when you have an allergic reaction. At least I heard about it and then I got it, or maybe I manifested it because I read it. But like it's like a hot chill, like it's like a hot flash chill, but it's different. It's I've only experienced it whenever I at least think I'm having an allergic reaction. So anyway, the point is like and it's a little bit of a separate subject, kind of. Actually, no, this is relevant. This is relevant. I'll make it hit home. But I learned that I actually, yes, let's say the nut allergy is real. Obviously, I believe it is. I also, that's 20% of the problem, because the 80% was the phobia that I had that triggered real physical symptoms that I would have. Like, let's keep it simple for everybody here. Increased heart rate. Like you can do that with anxiety, like easy, right? That's a physical symptom from a mental situation, right?
Yep.
So I would have real things occur from me thinking that I'm having a reaction, right? So my way, and everybody's journey is different, everybody's solutions are different, so, what works for me may not work for you, but what worked for me was going, you know what, like, because I knew if you made it past like 5 minutes, you weren't really having an anaphylactic shock reaction. Your throat wasn't swelling up. So like if I'd make it like to 5 minutes or so, I'd be like, go ahead, like kill me, like, because you're not going to. I know you're not, because I've been past 5 minutes, so you're full of shit, body. Like I would just tell them, like it was just that's how I handled it.
Yeah.
But like, and now how to bring that home is like, I think it's weird because I've actually never thought about this until right now, but I think learning how to deal with like your mind is making this worse than it is from a food allergy translated directly into a lot of the things that I do. And real estate is one of those where it's like, or just entrepreneurism, where you take on major level risk and your mind can make it out to be way worse than it is. But if you can come back down and now my solution there is similar to the allergy thing where I was like, well, go ahead, kill me. Like I made it 5 minutes. For me now it's, I literally visualize where I'm going to sleep tonight. Even if I'm like at a conference and I know my hotel room, like I know where the bed is. Right. And I like literally go, no matter what happens today, as long as I don't get put in jail, I will be sleeping tonight, most likely in that spot that I'm visualizing right now.
Yeah.
Right. And it like eases my anxiety. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah. I mean, there's always good things like a different focal point, right? Taking your mind off it. I've read about a lot of things with different like stress and anxiety and different ways to overcome it and kind of, regrouping and recenter yourself or keeping your mind off certain things or, different triggers. Like, the one post I had was like, you're stressed because you have decisions to make that you haven't made. Same thing with anxiety, which is on the other side of that, right? So there's some kind of thing that you've been putting off or whatever, or that's about to come that you're, if you just hit it head on, it'd be a lot less painful for everybody, right? But the worry and the fear about it or whatever, huh?
The buffalo. And it's so funny because I was telling my daughter this story recently because I forget why, but the buffalo, right? Like they didn't run with the storms. They ran into the storms and they actually experienced the storm for less time because they ran at it, right? Or if you haven't heard it there, you've heard the 2-second summary. But like, I was telling my daughter this to handle something. And I was laughing because like I wasn't doing it with some work stuff. Like, yeah, like we had some rough numbers for the team this year. And I was like scared to talk to Brittany about it, and what I was doing was I was extending that storm because now the conversation is always going to be the conversation. You're going to have the conversation no matter what.
Yeah.
But now I'm also having the fear and the anxiety, so I'm increasing the time I'm dealing with the storm as opposed to just running into the storm.
Yeah. Well, here's what you're doing. You keep making these mental pictures in your head of the worst possible outcome that could possibly happen. And you know what I mean? And it's like, if you just do the thing that you're putting off and run into that storm, you'll find exactly what's going to happen. However, it's going to shake out one way or another. You're going to find out right then and there. And then all these what ifs or the unknown stuff that kind of get you worried and staying up all night and all that kind of stuff is over, So now I like that, like I said, if there's a tough conversation that you have to have with a staff member or team member or, kids or wife or family or whatever, you're better off just getting it out of the way and, putting the cards on the table and like, hey, look this is where we're at. This is what happened to cause that. And then, all right, well, this is what we're going to do to make it better, and they're going to have, like you said, every action has a reaction. So they're going to have a reaction to whatever you just told them, which is natural, some might be worse than others, right? But at least you'll find out exactly what that reaction is. It's like, okay, well, most of the time it's a lot not worse than we thought.
When you stay in the truth, and you're grounded in the truth, all will shake out the way it should. And in some cases it's bad, by the way. Like like I was saying that I was having a conversation the other day. It's going through a tough conversation led to things that I had to deal with that are, in a sense, almost punishment feeling for the bad thing that happened. And it's like, well, yeah, you should, like, in the case it wasn't telling the truth. Well, I should have told the truth. If you tell the truth, then you
Yeah.
don't have to face the consequence. But if you don't tell the truth, well, you did a bad thing, and and they're like, oh, don't be hard on yourself. It's like, well, no, like, think about it. Like, if a kid does something bad, you don't give them candy, because if you give them candy for doing something bad, they're going to redo the bad thing. It's so we literally, like, and we put fancy words around shit because we're adults now and we make it sound cool and we talk our way out of shit. But we're still kids. We're the same thing. You can't give us candy for doing something bad. We need accountability and the repercussions. It doesn't mean that you need to sit in that and go, I'm terrible, woe is. You need to go, okay, I feel this pain because I made a mistake. Now I'm going to not do that again, and I'm going to do the next right thing from here, right?
For sure. Kind of reminds me of the book that I just read, Whale Done, Ken Blanchard. Matt Smith recommended it to me, but, basically the gist of it is, and kind of right close to your heart, in Orlando SeaWorld, right? Shamu and all the killer whales in the show. Like, how do they get, these killer whales to behave a certain way, right? So, what they do is there's a whole thing with the book, but a lot of it's either redirecting the behavior that you see towards what you want the outcome to be, and then reinforcing and, kind of like accentuating the positive. So praising the things that you want to see instead of the gotcha method of as far as, oh, you did that. Oh, you're doing wrong, right? And all we do is kind of catch everybody doing the wrong thing and, blast them. And everybody's on pins and needles instead of saying like, hey, great job. And, kind of, motivating them through the positive behaviors. Even if it's not the best, you can still praise, the progress over perfection. So what they do is, they're trying to get these killer whales to jump over like these ropes and stuff and jump out of the water and, put on a show, right? How do you get them to do that? So at first they'll start by putting a piece of rope underneath the water. And anytime the whale goes underneath the rope, they kind of ignore it, let it go or whatever. But every time they go over that rope, then they encourage them and then play with them and give them food and all that kind of stuff. So they're praising the behavior that they want. Right. And then they slowly just keep raising the rope up. Right. Until eventually, they're fucking jumping out and doing flips or whatever the hell they do. You know what I mean? I saw the show a long time ago in SeaWorld, but basically that's it. So praise the progress, redirect. If they're not doing the right thing, they show them the behavior that they want to do and then kind of go from there. So we could all kind of learn from our failures. But, a parenting thing that I've been trying to implement is, the reinforcing the positive, like with my daughter, she's 13, the room's a fucking pigsty, right? So trying to say, hey, great job. Your room looks a lot better. Instead of saying like, hey, your room's a pigsty. How do you live like that? You know what I mean? Like, please take out all your old garbage and all your old cups and all this junk that you have in there, and it seems to be working. Like, is it perfect? No. But is there a lot of conflict and stuff when you kind of train to that or whatever? No, it's, who's going to get mad when you say, hey, it's getting better. Good job. Keep it up.
Yeah. Was that an area where failures are apparent, is raising your kids? I think, yeah. You realize, well, nobody does it perfect. Like, and there's so many facts. Like, everybody's like, well, if you put them around good people, or if you send them to a good school, or if you love them more, or give them tough love, or if you give them there's such a, like, you think about your 18 years with your parents, some more, whatever. There's such a multitude of factors, and there's no, like, okay, if your childhood was good and it worked out for you and you became a good person, there's no way possible to replicate all the conditions that occurred every second of your 18 years. People, the time frames, so like, like, nobody's like, you're gonna fail a lot. But then
the part about like you said with like parenting, right? So I'm a little bit older than you, right? So my parents were always working. They never like took us out and like had play dates and all that kind of stuff. It was like, hey, go play with the neighborhood kids. And then everybody in the neighborhood played together, and a lot of us are still all friends like 40 years later, but now it's like, oh, well, they didn't, they're not spending this much time with me, this much time. And then you have like this parent guilt. Like, oh, I got to be doing all this stuff. And am I a bad parent because I don't do all that kind of stuff? Am I failing as a parent? And I'm like, dude, I don't know if I saw my dad, like my dad was awesome. Love, a role model, awesome guy, but he was working. He'd come see our games and stuff like that, but it wasn't like, oh, hey, take you to the ball game, take you here, go play catch and all that kind of stuff. It was like, made it to the games. We had family dinners and stuff like that, but it wasn't like, now looking back, I don't think that was like a bad parenting thing, but now it's like, when you have kids and you see all this stuff on the internet, and I think social media and all that kind of stuff kind of fucking hypes it up or whatever, but it's like, don't feel bad because you missed one game. It's like, I don't know how many games, you know what I mean? So the failure rate is
especially
I think, an illusion.
Like if the reason is grounded in, like you're working to better yourself, it doesn't even have to, it actually doesn't have to be work. Like if it's going to the, I mean, you wouldn't miss a game to go to the gym, but like just what are you striving towards? Because I noticed that when we did have some success, I was lounging around and laying in the pool a little. And my thought there was like, well, what does that model for your kid? Like, okay, yeah, you sat in the pool all day and you were able to take them to the things, but they just saw a chauffeur, as opposed to somebody who had standards and is in the office and, might have to miss a thing or two, but does everything they can to come to the games and get them to the things. They're seeing somebody who's driven, and they're going to, you have to model the behavior you want to see. But I think I love that topic, but I think it makes me, I always love to bring up with kids that the hardest part about being a parent is, and on the topic of failures, is letting them fail. Like they have to experience the failure. If they don't, you're not equipping, like you're not going to be with them forever. Like they're going to become an adult and do their own thing most of the time. So, but my point with that is when they go out into that world, are you equipping them, to deal? Because like, it's ugly. You see the shit we deal with as adults. You see, like you go to a hockey game in the city, you got to navigate the bad streets sometimes. Like you got to know where to go. And if they don't know how to navigate that, and I like this analogy, if you always give them the GPS, like they're so reliant on the GPS in their car, and the moment you take them away, they don't know where the fuck to go. Like that's how it works. So you have to let them fail and make a few wrong turns so they go, oh, I need to read signs and know my north, south, east, and west, and know how to do it without the GPS. But at the same token, that's one of the hardest things to do as a parent, is to like willingly let them fail or acknowledge they're going to be in a position where they might. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my son is 19, and I got a call yesterday at like around lunchtime. I'm like, you want to stop? Because he goes to college and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, he's like, you're going to stop in and have some lunch or whatever. He's like, no, I'm going to New York City with my buddies. I'm like, all right. Yeah. Like, all right, well, hey, go have fun, right? And then, I call my wife. I'm like, hey, do you hear where he's going? I'm like, the big city, all that kind of stuff, traffic's a mess. I'm like, well, what do you think? I'm like, oh, he's got to learn, right? He's going to be going to Philadelphia, to Temple. He just got accepted by them. I mean, he's got to learn how to navigate big city life. And, if he wants to go with his buddies and kind of learn that, I mean, be safe, but, he's got to, sometimes you got to scrape your knees in life, right? Figure out what's going on.
Yeah. And I mean, I haven't experienced it at that higher level yet, where they're older and it's like the stakes are higher. But, my oldest was doing pretty well with things. Like she was like, winning competition here, winning like, or school, like getting first place or moving on to the next thing. And, and I didn't orchestrate this, but it was perfect. She had been doing well, just everything. And I came into her room one night and I just knew she was on top. Like everything had been going right for a while. And I said to her, Macy, I'm going to tell you right now, we all fall. Like we all fall. You're going to get hit with a challenge. I don't know when it's coming, But let me tell you from experience, it is coming. And when you see it the least is when it's most likely to come. So you're doing amazing, and I think you're awesome. But just be ready for when the world is going to knock you back down a peg. And like literally 3 weeks later, one of the things she moved on with, she didn't move to the next round in school or whatever, and it crushed her a little bit. I hope that conversation helped like premeditate her for that. I think it did. You never really know. But what I was I don't know if that was, I don't know. You never know what it is. But what I saw was her just like accept it, get humbled, but then go back and do the work. Like in other aspects, like whether it was softball practice, other things that didn't even apply, but like it taught that lesson. And like, I couldn't have orchestrated that any better. Like, I'm not excited that my kid had a failure, but like I am, you know what I mean? Like,
well, you want to see, if they have grit, you want to see, they're going to pick themselves back up, or, how they're going to react to stuff like that. Because like you said, nobody's perfect. And if, we want to kind of go full circle and bring it back to real estate, right? There's like 90% of your day is failure, right? When you, put an offer in, you don't get it, right? There's no second place in our business. When you're making calls and you get that rejection, there's no second place in that, right? So how do you kind of handle that failure? What's your message for your team for, kind of coming full circle and saying like, hey, like, how do you overcome it?
Yeah. So that's probably something where I failed a lot for a while on how to handle that with the team. Like perfect. Cause like I personally just I just chug along, like, so I'm just
get back on the phone.
I'm very boring, and I just expect other people to do what I would do. So like for years I would just be like, suck it up, buttercup, let's go. Like just get back. Let's like do it again, just do it again. And not all people do that.
No, it's like I said, there's different personality traits. If we're all the same, then this world would be, boring, right?
Well, and to be clear, and it's okay that they're not like
yeah, for sure.
Because there's things about like just the way I do that isn't always good. Like that, there's everybody's got good ingredients and bad ingredients. I don't care who they are. So I'm not saying I just because I definitely taught, especially on the shows, that like do the work and blah blah blah. But like, there's people that are better than me with different skills. Like I'm not, the best. So like I know I'm not like my way isn't always the right way. But my point to that is what I learned was to lead people is to recognize that people are on a different journey than you are. And I failed at not recognizing that probably for 9 out of the 10 years, like literally maybe only the last year that I realized, because people leave people, and I've had people leave market. Sure. But I've had people leave over the last year. Yeah. A lot of them I know were because of bad leadership on my part. And you look and you go, well, what could I have done differently? Because I have personal responsibility, right? And I had to go internal and learn, and still learning, because like unconditional love, like loving somebody regardless of the circumstances and respecting the path that they're on and respecting that it's a different path than yours and respecting that they might want something different than you do. So I like to answer that question, like how I handled it up until this year, like get back and do the work. How I handled it now is we go through discovery if there's anything that we could have done differently. And if there's nothing we could have done differently, we left it all on the table. I think going through the process of discovering that makes them feel good, and makes them want to roll the sleeves back up and go. So I think it's a process of discovery as opposed to just do it.
Yeah. Like you said, not everybody's going to have the same goals as you. Not everybody's going to want to lead a team of blah, 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 X amount of agents and try to scale it all the way up to whatever. Some people just want to, pay their bills, or, some people are doing it part-time and it's just their vacation money. So you got to meet them where at. Like yesterday we had our Team Tuesday, calls and training and all that kind of stuff. And I said, hey, look at, if you're getting to know, right, and you're making your calls and, you're dealing with that failure and stuff, I think switching the mindset on that, right? One thing that helped me when I was first starting, getting started and, getting the rejection, and I was an IT introvert, right? So rejection wasn't something that was natural to me. people wanted to see me because I'm an IT guy. I'm going to come fix all your shit. And, when I leave, everything's going to be good. So you're happy to see me, so rejection and dealing with that didn't come natural. So like a quick mind hack that I had and, was teaching the team this was like, there's somebody out there that needs your help. All we're doing is just trying to find them, and then just try to help them out with whatever situation that they got. And, if you get that no, or you get told fuck off or whatever it is, hey, look at that person just might not have been ready yet, or that person that might not be for us. We're just looking for people that are looking for help.
Dude, such a big one. And I've experienced that different ways. Like, first and foremost, they talk about here feeling failures in the beginning. And I think most agents at some point get a CRM or use the broker CRM. And I've talked about this a lot where they get the unsubscribe or the stop and just one of them crushes them. And like, I literally probably got 10 yesterday. Like that has kind of never fazed me from the get-go. But I will say I didn't have the mindset from what you talked about where it's like, well, you're just looking for the person to help. So it's worth taking the people weeding out the ones that don't want your help or don't see you as valuable to find the person that will. That is so big though. Like, because if you truly believe you can help, like even back when I didn't have all this stuff, like accolades or navigated a ton of sales or this unique marketing system in the beginning, I truly believed and still do that I would negotiate better for you than the agent to the right because I did. And like, I thought I was smart. Like, I feel like if I'm going to book a vacation, I'm going to get it cheaper than most people around me because I'm good at that's how I am. That was the same skill set I found in real estate. So I'm like, if they work with me, I'll save them $5,000 compared to the next agent because that's just how I work smarter. And that belief maybe that's why I didn't care about the stops. But I'm telling you, if you're somebody out there that truly believes you can help somebody, then none of the rejection matters because those are just people that aren't your tribe, or your ideal customer, as they say.
I'm the unsubscribe baby though. I hate it when I see it. I'm just like, oh, yeah, I am. I'm like the introvert IT guy at heart, and I'm like, why wouldn't that person like that? I feel like calling them right now and seeing what's up. But then I say, okay, on to the next one. I'm just trying to help people. So, but I'm not like that. But to kind of go back and talk about failures and stuff like that, right? So you could always use failures as motivation to get where you want to go. One of the homework assignments I gave the team was, write down all the objections that you think, a potential home buyer might have, a potential home seller might have, a potential investor might have, and, kind of work on, how could you be helpful on helping them? Because objections are really just people's problems. And if you can solve people's problems, you're going to be more successful, as an agent or whatever in their life. The more people that you help, the more successful I think you are, like I said, just getting after it and approaching it from that mindset instead of, oh, I failed. This person doesn't want to use me as an agent. It's like, well, you're going to have that no matter who you are. Some people just, for whatever reason, want to work with somebody else, and that's okay. You just want to find the people. Like I always say, try to find the people that are swimming towards you, right? Instead of trying to catch everybody that's swimming away. Same thing with team members on the thing. If they're not swimming towards kind of the tribe that I'm trying to build, that's okay. Maybe I'm not the best fit for somebody. Maybe you're not the best fit for some agents, right?
Definitely.
In in a month, I'm going to be in like a t-shirt and flip-flops. That's me. I'm not the guy that's going to be, trotting around in a suit thinking, I'm fucking Mr. Big Shot, right? That's okay if people don't want to work with somebody like that. I want to work with people that are, hey, look, I'd rather get the value from you than kind of what you're dressed like. Like, it was funny. I was watching the Nashville Maverick, and they're like, like Chip Black and the other guy, I think it was Brett, and they're like, yeah, we're dressed like 22-year-old drug dealers or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's what they're comfortable in. I'm comfortable in like t-shirt and flip-flops. So I'm not changing to impress anybody. If you are down with that, that's who I want to impress. So, first failure I had was trying to be somebody that you're not, right? That's a hard one. Oh, I got to dress up nice and be all this or whatever all the time. Dinner's done. I just heard it dinging. But I think the hardest thing is to be yourself, right? And the biggest failure I think people have is trying to be somebody that they're not. And like I said, it's okay to be you. There's only one for a reason, and you're here for a reason.
Well, and I struggled with that. Yeah, failure talk. Like, because and I struggled with it hard because it worked. Like, I played the salesman role for years, and like it was pretty good. Not that I sold people things that they didn't want. I just morphed into what they needed. And I always told them what they wanted to hear instead of what they needed to hear. And then once I learned the alternative to that, it's more powerful and it's less on your back. So I had a lot of personal issues that came from wearing that mask for years of like who the people wanted me to be in the conversation, on the phone call, just constant, right? And I'm still working at that every day because like that was like a knee-jerk reaction, like because that's how I built this thing, and it rewarded me, which was not good. Candy was rewarding bad behavior at the time, but then a lot of personal
the rope for Shamu. You jumped over the wrong rope.
And that's what's weird is when you do get rewarded for bad things, but karma or the chickens come home to roost or whatever the saying you want to pick. And like, I had a lot of personal situations that came up from that. And I think that taught me like you're being a character, and it's like the universe is telling you like, stop being the character, be yourself. And when I learned that, and I'm still learning it every day, like it just gets a lot easier. Like right now, sure, I'm still dealing with a lot of hard things every day, but like I am more in my authentic self than I've ever been. Like I always said this before, but like I quit college because of public speaking. Talk about a failure, right? Like I was literally just scared to come into class to give a speech. It's essentially why I quit college. Like I had to give a speech next day and I didn't want to do it, so I stayed home and played World of Warcraft. Woohoo, big moment, right? Yeah. Like but now I'm like I literally don't care that we're live. Like if Jason was sitting right here, man, like I'd be in the same boat. And that's that was learned from failing at being another character. Like why did I not want to give a speech? Because I was being like another character. If I just be me, it's not hard to give a speech when you're you. You know what I mean?
Well, think about how many people would even be on the show or, too scared to even, come on live, right? Because of the fear of what other people might think or whatever. I always hear that, and it's like, dude, what do you give a fuck what anybody else thinks about you? You know what I mean? Like Hermosi has a good line on it. It's like, in 50 years, we're all going to be dead. And you're going to care about somebody that probably not even thinking about you, what their reaction is going to be and all that kind of stuff. And you worried about something stupid when you could have used it to elevate your life and your family's life for the better, right? Why would you care? Now, if somebody's out there like kind of bad mouthing you and something like that, that's a different story. But, think about all the things that we think internally, right? Oh, this person's going to think I look stupid, or I might think I look too fat. I always joke to the team, I'm like, I get on the video. I got a face for radio. I'm like, fucking, you just got to get after it and kind of, get over that hump.
I want to hit on the what people think of you thing with social media real quick, because I have a quick story for it that's super relevant. I think I always feared that, but then I got over that fear, and I had a long time on social media without really experiencing it. But then this past fall, and for those of you that have ever followed me recently know that I've probably gotten a little bit more vocal, and a little bit more of my true self has come out over the last 6 months than it ever has. You stop drinking and the truth spills out without the alcohol.
Usually the truth serum is supposed to be when you start boozing it up. Then you're like, oh, I got something to tell to you.
So my point, and this is interesting. So this is true. And I don't know if I told you this, Jason. I'll have to send this to you after. I woke up one morning in the fall, past fall, and I was just like waking up, scrolling on I think it was my Instagram, which I'm not even normally on. And I like saw a picture of myself, and then I'm like, I scrolled back up, And no shit, it was a screenshot of one of my posts with a black line over my eyes, and it was this guy that I met when I was in a band, definitely a different place in my life, and just basically the post was like something like, you can win if you go all in, like it's a lot easier to win if you just like commit and submit to the plan and hustle type, mentality, obviously, and it was just tearing apart me and this hustle culture and all this stuff. I was like, holy shit, this is what it's like. This is what and there was comments on it from people I had never met and another thing. Like, I'm just like, what? I've never seen this shit before.
I'm getting social shamed.
Yeah.
People are angry toilet tweeting at me.
I have to send it to you. I didn't tell you this, right?
No.
So I was just like, what the fuck? Like, but it actually, I think because I heard enough podcasts like this and just things like I'd already premeditated it, and like I knew, well, and maybe authenticity. Like I knew that's 100%, that post was 100% how I felt. I wasn't being any character. It might have triggered them that I believe in hard work. And I like, what do you believe in? Like, don't work hard.
Yeah.
Oh, the conditions suck and it's not fair. Well, you'll never win that battle. It's never going to be fair. The world ain't fair. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing: when you're putting yourself out there, you're putting a target on you, right? So it's a lot easier for people to like point and say, oh, what do they think they're so whatever. That's their opinion. Usually when people say something like that, it's more on them than it is on you. They kind of might want to wish, oh, I wish I could do that, or I wish I was doing what you're doing on the beach and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, the door's open. The reason we do a lot of this stuff is just to help people. We're both natural givers like that, but it's like, if you're going to put yourself out there, be prepared for the haters, because you're going to get yourself some fucking haters, which is fine. I'd rather, if I could help one, like I texted you the other day, I go, we're here to help as many people before we croak as we can. And that's my goal. So if I have some people fucking hating on me because I'm doing X, Y, Z, or they think I'm this and that, dude, I tell the team this all the time. I'm Popeye. I am what I am. This is what you get. When you first meet me and I tell you I'm going to help you, I'm going to help you. There's no artificial, oh, he's a different guy from here to here, or he said this and he didn't do that. I'd rather be authentic and help people. And if somebody hates it, fuck it.
Yeah, 100%. So, well, and that's the thing. It's if you're scared to like get it out there, share your thing. I guess it depends on your mission. But if your mission is to help others, because people like to say they give back by making a donation somewhere. Well, I like to actually help somebody. Like, and not that there's anything wrong with donations, by the way. I think it's fine. It's a good thing. But me personally, I'm like, you know what? I'd rather make a human being become the best version of themselves as opposed to just pay a fee to feel good. And not that donations, again, like I'm not trying to trash donations. It's a good thing.
No. It's a lot easier to just, hey, here's that, and I'm going on my way, than actually get in the weeds with somebody and kind of help them out, right?
So the transition to finish this episode, I think the last thing I want to hit on is like, and you kind of glossed over here, you talk about like, yeah, people see the things that somebody else has and they want them, they don't realize the work. And we talk about that a lot, so I am guilty of that. I think like transparency, in the spirit of transparency, like I built the team because I had a successful solo agent business. So I built a team. And then I saw these people get this revenue share at EXP, and I had a little, and I was like, man, like, what if I took it serious, because they got it and it must be easy. They're living on an island and they're doing this and, it must be easy. Must be easier than this team thing. And shifted focus towards that. And then from that went down a shiny object tunnel, as you well know, Jason, where we were trying to sell software and a digital marketing product to agents and actually in truth, because it solved problems for me, like it did, So I saw the value of it. But what I didn't realize, first of all, I'm leaving an environment that I had championed and gone through the hard, like building, because we failed a ton of time. I failed a ton of times as a solo agent to become successful, all the rejection, all the lessons. I failed a ton of times as a team leader. I remember the first year we weren't like that much more profitable. I was like less profitable than the year before when I was solo, right? Like because you had to learn systems and processes and people.
My first couple teams were terrible. And it wasn't the team members, it was just me. I was a terrible leader. It was kind of just like one of those things where it was like, hey, just figure it out. Like, here's some leads, just go, and there was nothing. Now if team members that were on the team then were on the team now, they'd be like, wow, this is like total night and day. You know what I mean? But that's progress, right? So eventually, it's trial and fail, right? We messed up, you figure out what didn't work, and then you correct that, and then you move on, right?
And so exactly. And I had all that stacked up. But what happened was when I flipped over and goes, I'm going to just take revenue shares as the main focus, I was a rookie. I was at the bottom again because that wasn't the skill that I built. I didn't, and that's going to take time. And I expected, well, I'll just do it like they did it. And that vessel's easier than this vessel. And because the compound effect or whatever the hell. And that didn't work. And then the software one was real interesting because I actually, and I got it to a point where I literally was booking appointments in my calendar on autopilot, 20 or 30 a month on autopilot. It cost me $20 per appointment. So, simple math, and I'm actually, I'm just making sure I'm right here. So I'd have like $400 or $500 and I'd have like 20 or 30 people that were my ideal client ready to rock and roll. And I realized I don't know how to sell I know how to sell my services as a real estate agent because I've done that for years. I know how to sell my services as a team leader and coach because I've done that for years. But I don't know how to sell software.
Well, I'd say, yeah. Okay. Did it work out the way you want? And was it successful? Probably not the way that you wanted to, right? So if you want to chalk that up as a failure, go ahead. But my thought on it, and I told you about this, is it's like, dude, but you're just looking at it as a monetary thing. Look at all the skills that you develop now that you could take to future endeavors. Like Glenn Sanford has this where, EXP wasn't his first fucking rodeo, right? How many things did he have that busted out? But he took the skills that he learned from all those other ventures and then got the one that hit. So it's never a failure unless you quit.
It's true and like Hermosi will say, the work works harder on you than you do on it. And like you're right. Like but monetarily it is a failure. Like I think like if you are emotionally intelligent enough to be able to handle like the reality and the truth, I think you should, I think the truth, it'll set you free. Like, it was a failure. It wasn't, I wasn't good enough for selling, or the product wasn't good enough, or there was a problem and it wasn't working. And and money shows you it's not going well. Like, if nobody wants to buy your shit, it's a bad product. Don't do it. Like, now you can get better at it or improve the product, improve the sales, blah, 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 improve the marketing. But money is the ultimate accountability tool. So it did become a failure, but it's like you said, it's not if you don't quit, because now I come back into like the team environment. What got you here will get you there. And I have some skills. Like I understand digital marketing 10x to 100x what I used to.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You're comparing the wrong metric, right? So you're measuring it as a financial thing. And it's like, okay, well, that was not a good thing because I didn't get this financial thing. But if you set your thing as, okay, I'm going to do this, and, the end of the day, what I'm looking for, my target is that I'm going to learn how to be the best digital marketer, and I'm going to be able to, recruit leads, and I'm going to get my costs for ads down, and I'm going to have that skill, then it was a success. You're just looking at it the wrong way.
But that's
the learning curve, right? So
yeah, but that was the goal.
I just paid all this money to develop this thing, but you could say, okay, I just paid all this money to learn this skill, and that skill's going to be moving on.
That's how you have to look at it in hindsight and in growth and in the spirit of growing as a human. But like, it's still a failure in the sense that like the mission of that was to make it a for-profit business that I also learned in, but that I, that accompanied the other things that I was doing, like it was supposed to be for-profit. I wasn't doing it for learning,
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
So
we'll give it a little, all right, do better
No,
next
it's
time.
a failure. Like it's a failure. And
All
if
right,
you,
yeah. All right, so bomb, big deal.
it's a failure, and but it's when you view it positively, like you're saying, like it's okay, but we can still call it a failure. We don't need to like bullshit,
Yeah.
like
You don't need
too
to
many
fluff it.
people. I don't do well with the well, you try to no, you failed. It's okay. Do better next time. Like work hard. Maybe you should have prepared more. Maybe you should have learned more. Maybe you should have worked harder. Maybe you should have did something different. Like
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay. Like
It's funny because Rick on my team is right across from me, and we just had this conversation for an open house that he was hosting over the weekend. And I'm like, dude, you're not here just to kind of open the door. I could have just fucking left the door open. You're here. You don't want to be like I said. Is it a failure? No. We got some activity and all that kind of stuff. We ended up selling the house out from those couple of days of activity. But it's like all the lessons that he learned now he's going to take all those things that could have worked better for the last one, and now the next one's going to be 10x what this one was. So it's always a learning lesson and an opportunity to get better at anything. And he values that part of it. It's like, oh, okay, I never thought about that. But I'm like, that's my end of the bargain as being the team lead. You're like, oh, what am I paying your splits for? It's like, you're part of the bargain, work your leads, do the contracts, all that. Mine's to help train you up and coach you along the way so you could be better and better throughout the whole process and, provide the systems and processes to do that. Right. So it's like, okay, my end of the bargain is to show you your weak spots, your blind spots. Because you don't even know you're not doing
because
it.
we fucked it up.
Yeah, we fucked it up. And, like I said, nobody's perfect. But like I said, when you skin your knee, you figure out how, okay, I don't want to do that again. And then you can tell people, hey, don't do that because you're going to skin your knee.
My guilty trait, though, is trying to teach them every single time I skin my knee in the matter of 5 minutes. And I need to learn that nobody can absorb it that quick. You have to give it to them in small doses. You have to teach them, but you can't puke it on them. I have a guilty. That's a guilty trait I have.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday on our team call too. It's like you get so excited to have somebody on the phone that you're like machine gun mouth fucking, and you don't just shut up and listen to what they have to say and how you can help them because you're like so concerned about getting your little script or talk track out. It's like, dude, calm down, slow it down. Third person, be a person, and just talk to them like a normal person. Not like, well, today I saw you were clicking on these houses, and I wanted to make sure that it's like, what the hell? I'm like, would you talk to your friend like that? No, you would not talk to your friend like that. So.
It's something like if you have a trait. So I have that trait, and I think what helped me was I saw my mom do it, and I saw my oldest daughter do it, where they plethora of information too fast, and I realized how I couldn't fucking pay attention to it. And I don't feel like I'm dumb. I feel like I can absorb. Maybe I'm whatever. I just feel like I can absorb. That's a skill set I feel I have. I don't think I'm the best thing ever, but I do feel I can do that. And when they're throwing that stuff at me that fast, I'm like, I don't care if I'm, Einstein. I cannot absorb what they're saying this fast like that. And then it makes you realize, wow, I do that. So maybe a little hack, or at least what's worked for me, is like get around people who are similar to you, so you can see, especially when you have kids, you can see your character traits regurgitated back to you, or record your calls, like throw your phone up. I mean, whatever state laws or whatever, I don't know, with recording, be legal, whatever. But if you're able to record yourself so you can watch yourself, and you'll start seeing what it's like when you're screwing up, because that third person perspective is so much better.
Yeah, for sure. You can't fix what you don't know is broken, right? So you got to identify your blind spots, identify, maybe things that you're failing at, and then work on them to get better, for sure.
So wrapping it up, I think that failures, like you'll never, like, by the way, even if they're valuable, because I know they're valuable, you'll never willingly go into a failure. So just it's just, you're never, I had made failures before I did the software thing, and then I did the software thing thinking it was going to be the best thing in the world, and become to be terrible, but it taught me so much. So you're never going to see them coming, but they're absolutely going to happen. and you hear it all the time, but as long as you can understand that it's teaching you lessons that you will use as a stepping stone to the next, the next thing, and it might not even be in the same industry or vein or thing you're doing. Like, for example, you can get into real estate as an agent, do all this and not sell many houses. But then when you go to buy your personal home, or maybe you go to invest, in rentals or this or that, you have so much more knowledge and advantage than the person who hasn't been what you've through. There's just subtleties and nuances that you pick up through being a real estate agent. So even if you fail as a real estate agent, you're actually going to get, and I've always said this since, I've started the team, is like, even if you fail on this, you will save so much money when you buy your first home that it'll be worth it.
Well, I think we fail as podcast hosts because we say that we're going to keep this to 30 minutes every week, and then we don't shut the fuck up. And I look up at the clock, and it's like an hour, and I'm like, well, bombed on that one again. So maybe next week we'll keep it to half-hour bite-sized chunks.
Maybe we'll go longer. Maybe we'll flip the script.
We're going Tim Ferriss. We're going 3-hour podcasts.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm down for, you and I have talked about the way, and it'll constantly evolve. There's no way that at episode 22 it'll be in the episode 100. It'll change. But I think that the nice part about this environment is it lets us workshop it out, and y'all can see what a conversation looks like. Because Jason, you and I have these conversations anyway, and that was the spirit of this podcast, was let's get these conversations out in the public so people can see what we go through, the paces we go through, and the people we are, and hopefully that gives value. So I've seen some from it. Hey, we've made it to 22. We're the 1%ers. If y'all have gotten any value from this episode, shoot us a message, text, email, signal flare, find us on socials. Let us know how it's impacted you and how we can improve it, because we're wanting to make sure it gives value to the audience that is listening. So, awesome. Jason, any final words before we jet out?
Like us, subscribe, share it. Like I said, give us some feedback. Anything that you guys want us to talk about or anything like that, hit us up, leave a message in the comments, and yeah, if anybody wants to kind of talk one-on-one, if they're struggling with something, more than happy to help you out.
Absolutely. That's the mission. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.